Hello and welcome to the Virtual Care Basket. I'm Ayesha Hilton and I invite you to find out more at virtualcarebasket.com. I hope you enjoy this interview. Hello, I'm Ayesha Hilton from ayeshahilton.com and the Virtual Care Basket, which is virtualcarebasket.com, where I'm offering free downloads, most with no opt-in, so you don't have to give your email to get all the goodies. And we're also running nearly daily events with amazing people. And I've realised recently just how amazing all the people I know are. So today I have a special guest, Liz O'Dwyer. She's the Queen of Sustainability in my book, and I'm just going to read you a little bit of her bio. So she's funny, practical, knowledgeable, down to earth, and walks her talk. And I know this personally because I've known her for a few years. And Liz lives and breathes sustainability. And she's really passionate about educating and empowering people to live a practical and sustainable life. And she's also the author of Switched On Sustainability, which I've linked to someone, so I can't hold it up and demo it, but maybe Liz has got a copy she can show us in a second. And I wanted to invite Liz on because obviously things are shifting so quickly with COVID-19 coronavirus, and in some ways there's some beautiful changes happening in the environment. And for those that are isolating, there's opportunities to look at different ways of using the resources around our homes. So Liz is going to share her top tips with us today, and if you've got any questions you can chuck them in the chat, or if you're watching the replay you can put them in the Facebook post and we'll try and get back to you. And we also have a Q&A session at the end. So I'm going to hand over to Liz. Liz, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to spotlight you now.
Awesome. My absolute pleasure, Ayesha. And can I say congratulations on the Virtual Care Basket. I think it's such a beautiful heart-based concept that you're creating, and it's offering so much information to people out there who I think really need that connecting to other people now. So yeah, you've done an amazing job pulling all of this together. And I know it relies a lot on technology, and technology is our friend when it works, and when it doesn't, it's extremely frustrating.
But we got here in the end.
We did.
15 minutes late after 2 computers, multiple microphones and different logins, but we are here. So thank you for your patience, everyone.
Yes, but your patience and tenacity when it comes to technology is just amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. And yes, I do have a copy of my book here. So that's it.
Okay.
On sustainability. For the Ballarat people, it is available at the Source, Bulk Foods in Ballarat, and also Phoenix Alternative as well.
Is your website switchedonsustainability.com?
switchonsustainability.com.au.
All right, we'll add that in the chat. Thank you. So I'll hand the mic back to you and you can share everything that you want to share with us today.
Thank you. And I think you make a good point too when you said that there are some people, the wider community now doing some really good things in terms of self-sufficiency and sustainability, albeit a knee-jerk reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic that we're having at the moment. So, I've read that people are clearing out hardware stores of seedlings or seeds, packets of vegetable seeds, which is fantastic. There's also been a run on people getting chickens for their backyard so they can have eggs now. And that's another great sustainable practice to have, because you not only get the eggs from the chickens, but you get the manure that goes into, back into the garden, so you can actually use that to condition the soil. So there's lots of benefits for that, but it is a knee-jerk reaction to what we're going through at the moment. So what I would love to see is people being more proactive rather than reactive when it comes to sustainability and a level of self-sufficiency. So I had several trigger points about 25 years ago, that started my journey into lightening my footprint. And so I've made a lot of changes. We're only going to touch on a couple of them today that I think are really simple to implement. But there are so many ways, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of really tiny ways that we can change what we do on a daily basis to help lighten our footprint. The first one I would say is community. Now, I know that we've been told to keep our 1.5 metre distance from other people, to self-isolate, to go into lockdown, which is totally the opposite of trying to promote community and bringing people together. But it can still happen. And I guess through the virtual care basket, we're actually still getting together here, albeit online and rather than in person. So community, I think, is really important in terms of sustainability and self-sufficiency. So we've already seen the system that we've got is broken in terms of relying on supermarkets for our weekly shop and for our supplies, whether that be food, toilet paper, tissues, pasta, rice is almost gone. The kerfuffle that the toilet paper fiasco has caused has been nothing short of sensational. So community is the be all and end all, because we can't survive on our own. And so the community, I'm going to weave community and that concept of community into everything that we have. So I am part of the Ballarat Permaculture Guild, which also promotes community, and it's amazing how much we can achieve as a group of people moving forward. So, we do things like swapping produce. When we have too much produce, we go and swap it for other things that people are growing that we may not be. So it's also about sharing the excess produce. It's about supporting each other, whether it is emotional support, which I know a lot of people need at the moment. It's about bulk buying, which is, I'm a massive fan of bulk buying, and I cannot recommend that highly enough. And particularly in times like these, there is nothing that I've had to go out and panic buy, even just to stock up on, things like pasta or rice or the staple foods. That's something that I have done probably for the last several years, is actually bulk buy. So instead of going to the supermarket and buying a 500 gram or a kilo bag of rice every week or every month, I actually buy it in 20 kilo bags. And so I've got that on hand for different things. So I can actually boil it up and use it as a food. I can mill it into a grain and use it to make bread. And so there's nothing that I need in terms of those staples. So there's rice, there's, bulk purchases of flour, legumes, grains, all that sort of stuff. I've got them in bulk. Seeds.
Can I ask the question, is the purpose of buying in bulk, aside from having ample supplies, like I'm not someone that likes to have a lot of food in the house. I don't know why I like to shop just in time. Is that more to save on the packaging and the food miles? Is that the logic there?
There's a couple of points, and that's a great question. So sometimes it's the cost as well. So, oats, the organic rolled oats, if you want to go to the supermarket, they might be, $8 or $9 or $10 for a 500 or 700 gram pack of oats.
Yeah.
When I bought them in I think it was a 25 kilo bag, it was down to like $3 or $4 a kilo. So
it's a huge difference in price.
Yeah, massive. And so people go, oh yeah, but you paid, whatever it was, $70 or whatever it was for the 25 kilo bag. You can either, depending on the size of your household, you can either come home and store that and use it as, for the family, or you can then share that bulk load with your community, whoever that might be. So there are monetary savings to be had. There is packaging. It comes in one bag rather than, 25 plastic bags that you'll actually get from the supermarket. So there's the environmental savings there. Sometimes it is about the food miles. So there's multiple savings that you can get, and it's a time saver because one thing more that you can take off your weekly shop and not have to deal with on a weekly basis or a monthly basis whenever you get the bulk buy. Sorry, there's somebody on chat. How many people are you buying for? Oops.
So Rachel lives alone, like you, and she for her bulk buying is 5 kilos, not 25 kilos.
Well, see, I do. Rachel, I live on my own, but I still buy in 25 kilo bags, whatever it is that I buy, because that's where the community comes in handy. The more on a general basis, the more you buy, the better price it is per kilo when you reduce it back down to per kilo. And that's where the community comes in really handy, because you can say, okay, well, I only want 5 kilos of that 25 kilo bag. Who else can I share that with? So that's where, you know, the community is really important in terms of sharing that bulk purchase.
And Janet also commented that she likes the idea of buying in a group and then sharing it, which I know there's a lot of initiatives in Ballarat. And just another, if it's all right to ask this, like, how do you store it? Like, you know, you're in the country, like, how do you stop, like, you know those little, what are those little bugs that get in your rice? Those
yeah, the weevils.
Weevils, and then like mice, like, are you storing them in plastic tubs or rubbish bins or something?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Rubbish bin I'd be a little bit iffy about, because to me they're not food grade. They're to put your trash in. But I collect 20 kilo buckets, and I've never purchased one. I always go to cafes and restaurants and ask them if they've got any spare buckets. They need to have a really good fitting lid, and then I store them in there. So you do need to have that storage space. And in terms of the weevils, I put bay leaves.
Oh, they don't like bay leaves. There you go.
They don't like bay leaves, and the bay leaves don't taint any of the food that they're protecting.
See, that's a good tip.
yeah, it's massive. And I also grow my own bay leaf. I've got my own bay leaf tree outside, so I just go and simply pick it off. I hang them up to dry, so people laugh when they come into my kitchen, because there's always, you know, like the string, and there's, you know, the bay leaves drying, there's always eggshells drying, there's orange peels drying, and people come into the house and they go, excuse me, but what are you doing, you know, with your eggshells drying? You know, there's just be a whole row of eggshells drying.
One day you might need to take us on a virtual tour so we can see how we should be living.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that not everybody's going to cope with that. And
no.
You know, sometimes I walk past and go, oh God, you know, can I not get a better setup? So, and it's interesting, because I had a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they said, you must be really organised to have, you know, to be really proactive about, you know, getting your 20 kilo buckets and being prepared in terms of making your own bread. You know, you've got to fit that into your already busy schedule, and how do you do that? And I went, oh no, you know, no, I don't consider myself an organised person at all. But on thinking about it later on, I guess I am. And it's about priorities. You know, at what point do we go, yeah, no, I feel really bad about living an unsustainable lifestyle, or being so reliant on a broken system, and yet, well, but I can't make changes, I don't have time, I'm too busy. And that's, you know, that's fine, but we're all busy. It's about priorities. And at what point do we say, okay, enough is enough? Let's lighten our footprint. Let's reduce the pressure on an already buckling system and start that road down self-sufficiency. And it is a lot easier than most people think. It's all too hard. I don't know where to source things from. And again, that's where community comes in handy, because, you know, you'll be tapping into a community that's already doing what you want to do. And so they'll have the answers. So, but all you need to do is ask the question, and you've got to actually.
I've seen that in Bunningong, they've got like a co-op.
Yep.
You can buy in bulk, and, you know, it's a Facebook group, and it's actually quite manageable. It's not a huge amount of work. I know it is work for the person facilitating it, but to buy, it's pretty easy. And, you know, people try and share the load. Yes.
And again, that's where community comes in handy. You've got to have that like-minded group of people. And co-ops it's not a new thing. Co-ops have been around for, you know, 10, 15 years. You know, the smart people that go, okay, well, if we've got a little bit of spare room that we can stack up your 20 kilo buckets of stuff, you know, you can get that group of people together, and once that delivery comes in, it might mean that, you know, 2 or 3 people go over to the person's house and, you know, decant all of those orders. If you're only taking 5 kilos out of a 25 kilo bag, you know, somebody needs to do that. So you do need to have that like-minded group around you.
And at the moment, do you think it's still possible to do bulk buys? Like, that hasn't dropped off?
No, we're about to do one. So no, I don't believe it has.
Yeah, cool, because yeah, it's always nice if people I might try and find some resources or get some from you that I can put in a post and we can share, like,
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
people want to get involved. Excellent. What else can we do, Liz?
Oh, well, apart from bulk buys, which I'm a massive fan of, the other one is starting to grow your own food. Grow your own food or make some of your own foods. One, it reduces the amount of packaging that we utilise on a weekly basis. I'm at the point now where I put my wheelie bins out maybe once a quarter. And so, for me, packaging is not an issue anymore.
That's phenomenal. I'm really impressed with that. I definitely am nowhere near that. We still put ours out every week. It's not always full or anything, but they're coming, so we just put it out.
Yeah. And see, I don't put wet stuff in my bin either. Like, I don't have wet stuff that I put in there. So
nothing gross that's going to be
really
fermenting
smelly
of its own accord.
Yeah. But growing your own food, you can grow your own food in containers. It doesn't matter if you live in an apartment. There was a post that I put up on my Facebook page yesterday about apartment dwellers that can grow, 8 different foods, and they can do it successfully. So there's always things that we can do, but again, it's that mindset shift that we go, oh well, I live in an apartment, I can't possibly grow anything, and it's not true. It's not true. You can even go down the road to the local community garden and get a plot there if you want to. And if you haven't sought out or ever visited a community garden, please do so. They're amazing, the resources that they have there. And again, you'll be rubbing shoulders with people that grow things that you don't, and there's another opportunity for some produce swaps there.
Janet's saying she's got yummy tomatoes in pots in her courtyard. My tomatoes are really bitter. Like, Spencer and I had one, and we're like, oh my God, and they were full and red, and they were so horrible, we just automatically spat them back in the yard.
Oh no.
They were just like unedible raw.
Yeah. How disappointing.
I know, and they looked really nice too.
Yeah. But even things like growing herbs.
Oh, yes.
Generally when people grow herbs, they'll or purchase herbs, they'll go and get a whole bunch of herbs. They might use 2 or 3 sprigs, and the rest of it sits in the fridge before they go off. They don't want to throw it out while it's still good, so they leave it there till it goes off, and then they don't feel so bad about throwing it out. But if you're growing your own herbs, you can then just go and pick off the outer leaves. You can pick off whatever you want to. You can use it in the dish, and then you haven't wasted anything. And then that's another opportunity to then swap. If you're still growing that herb and you don't need it, you can actually still swap that for produce with other people. So there are so many benefits, and the mental health benefits, the mental wellness benefits of gardening on a daily basis is just phenomenal.
That's a very good point, Liz, because we don't often talk about that, but I've noticed that since people have been going into isolation, they've been messaging me going, oh, I just did 2 hours of gardening and I feel great. And it's that really replenishing activity.
It is. And I think that's where my love of gardening first started, 20, 30 years ago, is because I was looking for, and I naturally gravitated toward gardening as a sense of release from a very toxic situation that I was in. Not that I realised that that's what I was doing at the time, but my love of gardening has just grown, to be an obsession over the years, which is fine. I don't mind having an obsession around gardening, but it's and they've since done research around how gardening has helped people's mental well-being in terms of relaxation and grounding and all sorts of stuff. So to me, there's only ever benefits of, gardening, whether it's ornamental or growing your own stuff, great. But I also did get to the point when I first started gardening, it was all around the ornamental side of things. It was never, how daggy to grow your own food,
Goodness, that's trendier now. Like, it's quite cool now to have a garden and a community garden.
Yeah. But, I had a great ornamental garden, but at the end of the season, I'd pull it all up and dig it into the garden and start on the winter stuff. And then, I just had an aha moment one day when I thought, this is all really well and good, and I can come out here and I can look at beautiful colours and I can smell it, because I really do love a highly fragrant garden. But I can't, it gives me pleasure emotionally and visually, but that's it. And I just went, well, maybe if I actually grow a food group. And so I went down to the local nursery and I bought a capsicum plant, and I planted it, and I really got excited, and I went out there every day, and I was watering that more than what I watered the ornamentals, and I was like, and the poor capsicum plant, it must have been under so much pressure to grow. And of course, then it flowered, and then the flowers changed into a little capsicum, and I was out there almost with the tape measure every day. So, it's getting bigger, and the poor capsicum plant. I walked out the back door, it must have been standing. Here she comes again. Come on, grow. She's coming to measure us. And so I was so excited when I picked my first capsicum plant. I just felt that was just taking gardening to the whole next level, to be able to go in and then chop that up and put that in a dish and eat it. To me, I was hooked. That was the day one of my first day of.
And hopefully everyone who's bought all the seedlings from Bunnings.
Yes.
Because about 3 weeks ago, I said to Shane, I wonder if chicken sales are going to go up, like live chickens and all the seedlings,
Yeah.
But Shane was laughing. I think it was him, or it could have been Nick, going, do they realise it takes like quite a long time for those to grow before you can eat them? But that's really good, especially if the kids are home. There's an opportunity for them to see the life cycle of a vegetable or whatever, and actually learn that, it's not this instantaneous.
It's not. Some of them have quite a long growing cycle, but it's really important for kids to know where their food comes from. I was in my early 20s before I realised how a potato grew. Yeah. And I was completely disgusted at people putting manure on their vegetable gardens. I thought that was just really, really off.
I must admit, I got tortured by potato plants as a child because, and grapes. So my mum and various stepdads, we would go and pick potatoes in Trentham. And I remember my older brother and I would have to, and it was freezing, right? Like, it's freezing. You got to pick these bloody potatoes. So yes, I learned early on, and then grape picking in the sweltering heat.
I just think there's nothing better than that now, and fast forward 20 years, I'm the one that's going, that's manure, pick that up and take it home so we can put that on the garden.
Free manure, even chicken poo and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thank the chickens for their manure every time I clean it out. It's amazing what a little bit of education and knowledge can do. So yes, growing your own food. Some of them have a really short growing cycle, but some of them have the long ones. But I think there's such a disconnect between with the food that we eat these days, that we need to get back to grassroots, and that means growing not everything, but at least if you can grow some of the stuff that you eat a lot of every week, like silver beet or peas or beans or whatever it is, we can grow so much in our area. And I'm a true believer that you need to grow at least some of your stuff, and you need to run a compost.
Yep. So what's your composting tips for us? So I know some people live in small like units or apartments and stuff. So give us the two sort of options for people with proper backyards and people who are, making do with a smaller space.
Well, if you've got a proper backyard and if you've got space, even one of those big square 240 litre bins that you can get from the hardware, proper composting bins, I think they're around 30.
That's what I've got, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine. Have one of those or have two of them. So you fill up one and you leave that to decompose while you fill up the other one. But there are various methods you can do if you've got the space in the backyard to actually create your own compost bin. You can do something as simple as getting 4 star pickets and some chicken wire, and you put the star pickets in a square and then wrap the chicken wire around it. There's your compost. So you don't have to go to any great lengths. Yeah. You can bury your compost if you want to. Just dig a hole and throw it in the ground.
It'll make our own compost landfill at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you have to give it any attention. My dad looks after my compost, so he's all on top of it. But should people be forking it to get air in there and circulating it?
Yes. So with the square compost bins, there are flaps that you pull up and you take the more decomposed matter from down the bottom, and you can just put it into the top. So you just rotate that, or you can get a big aerator to put it in there. I have compost bays. I've got 4 or 5 compost bays, and I should aerate them and turn them a lot more than what I should, but I don't. They still break down. They just take a little bit longer to do that.
Maybe I could get you to take some photos or a little video later of just the different things you talked about today, so we can have a visual of how you're doing it. Not that we would necessarily emulate 4 composting bays, but I'd just love to see it. And I think Janet wants to say something. No? Okay.
I was just going to say, we could get Liz to do a video, or we could just buy her book.
I just think, yes, definitely buy Liz's book.
But I do like the idea of the video.
I think I'd love to see it in video, but that's just me.
I've got the online program, and I haven't done any how-to videos yet. So I'll actually do the how-to video on composting and the various methods that I've got, because I do have the 240 litre bin in the compost for any of the weeds and stuff that I pull out. In the veggie patch. And so any of those weeds that I pull out, I put that straight into the compost bin in the veggie patch. And then I've also got 4 or 5 bays along the side of the fence. So I'll do a how-to video. But in answer to your question of people that live in smaller spaces, there are the bench top buckets that people can buy. And I know that there's a lady in Ballarat that sells the urban composter bin. And it looks like one of those, I think it's like 10 or 15 litres. I think you can actually get different sizes too. And there's just a little natural chemical that you put in to help decompose the food scraps that you put in there. It doesn't smell, so you can keep it on your kitchen bench. Once it's full, then you can just, and it's decomposed, you actually just put that compost straight out onto the garden. So there are options for apartment dwellers as well. So that's another thing that I'm super passionate about. If you're going to eat and create food waste, you need to responsibly deal with that food waste.
I love that. Right. And what other tips do you have for you?
Wow. I did write a list, because otherwise I'd sit here until 10 o'clock tonight talking about different sustainability stuff. So the other one that's been a massive, had a massive spotlight in it lately has been the family cloth as an alternative resource to the toilet paper fiasco that we're all dealing with. And I've put this up a couple of times on my Facebook page as family cloth, would you, wouldn't you? And, I've had varying responses to the whole yuck, that is disgusting, to, oh, really, what is that? And how do you use it, and what benefits environmentally is it, rather than using toilet paper? So family cloth is simply cloth, 100% cotton, and it can be various different types of cloth that you use when you go to the toilet, rather than using toilet paper. And it gets reused. It's not a single use. It gets washed and reused. People say, can you use it several times before you wash it? No, it's a single use. And but you've got to ask these questions.
If it's number 2s, oh my God.
Yes, that's right.
So would you have like a little container buckety thing with a lid, maybe?
Yes.
Almost like a nappy bucket.
Yeah.
And pop the used ones in. And would you have, like, do you use it for poop as well, or just for pee?
So you can use it for number 1s, or you can use it for both. Again, it's a separate cloth for both, or for either. I just use it for number 1s, and that's, particularly if you have several females in the household, that's actually going to dramatically reduce your toilet paper usage instantly. So I just use it. I keep a stack of them on the back of the toilet, use it, drop it in the bucket, put the lid in there. The bucket already has water and washing powder in there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then every couple of days I'll just wash it, and I do hand wash it. I do wash it separately. I don't throw it in the wash with all the rest of it. Although I'm sure that would be okay too, but that's my personal way that I deal with it. And I wash it in hot water, rinse it a couple of times, and then put them out to dry. So it is easier. It is a little bit more work, but you've got to weigh up the pros and cons of benefits. There's something like 30,000 trees a day cut down so we can wipe ourselves.
And how big would the cloth be? Like how, and do you sew it, or do you just cut it with a shear so it doesn't fray?
It depends on what cloth you use. When I first got mine, I did go to the hardware store and I bought this big, it's like a 10 pack of microfiber cloths, and I wouldn't do that again, but this is what I did when I first started. And so it's just a big square. I think it's, I don't know.
Quite big, yeah.
Yeah. So 35 by 35 centimetres or something. And I just cut them down into big squares. Mm-hmm. So, you just cut it down into what size is comfortable for you. These are new. These have not been used, by the way. Just clarifying that. And so you can use, if you've got an old towel in the back of your cupboard that you don't really use, it's, wrong colour or whatever it is, you can cut that up and just use the pinking shears around it so you don't have to cut, you don't just sew it. You can use old nappies, you can use an old flannelette sheet. Yeah. Some people have gone to the op shop and bought up just an old flannel sheet.
You get a lot out of a queen bed
absolutely.
sheet.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need any more. So you don't need to go to Spotlight, people.
No, absolutely.
That's not what we're saying.
No, and see, that's another element. So it's a cost saver. You're also supporting the op shop. You're saving material that will end up going to landfill if it's not purchased anyway. And so there's massive benefits just there. And that feel-good feeling that you get when you go, you know what, I'm helping, I'm being environmentally friendly. And so you can come home, you wash it in hot water so you make sure it's really clean, and then you can just cut it up into whatever size is comfortable for you. You make a stack on the back of the cupboard, back of the toilet door, get your bucket and you're right to go. But that's the other thing too, that's a multi-step project. It's not a big project, but it is a multi-step project. And I think that's, again, that comes back to a mindset shift when you go, oh, I really want to do that, but it's too hard. It's not too hard. It's just a multi-step project that you need to implement in an already busy lifestyle. So,
and I guess now that people aren't out as much, they might have more time, and you could set up on your dining table with your pinking shears, your old sheet, and Netflix, and off you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it doesn't have to be arduous. The other thing that, having grown up in India and then for 2 years and then lived in Thailand for 2 years, we just had a bucket of water and a little, we called it the dipper. Yep. And that's how you do stuff. So I think, like, if you were going to go totally family cloth, you could wash your bum and dry it with the family cloth.
Yes,
absolutely. And I'm sure Bunnings have sold out of the spray guns that you can attach to your toilet. And I was meaning to get one ages ago because it's actually quite hygienic.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I know other people take a poop and then go have a shower now. That's their way of dealing with it. So
okay. But even the spray bottles, people are now starting to use those as well.
Yeah. So that way you wouldn't actually need any toilet paper. You could just spray your bum and then use the family cloth.
Yep. Wipe it dry. So there's lots of options. And I have to say, in all honesty, several years ago when I first heard about this family cloth, I was like a lot of other people. Oh, really? No, we can't do that. It's just, it's unhygienic. It's not right. But I thought about it and I thought, okay, there are more pluses than minuses here. And so I thought, okay, I need to have that mindset shift. And a lot of it is about mindset shift. Yeah. And when I start, okay, right, I've got to do this. And so I got set up with it. And for the first week, it was a little bit weird. But that's it.
Good to know.
Now, yeah. So, if you feel kind of icky in the first week, it's okay. Stick with it because you've decided to do this and you've got your lidded bucket and you've got all of your family cloth, you've got it all, you're good to go. Let's step through that icky bit for the first couple of days. Now, no drama. I love it.
Rachel says, good on you, not even something I thought of doing before this current shortage. So
I'm sure, Rachel, it's like so many people now.
Makes us think outside our normal habits. And I mean,
I don't
nappies with Spencer, so I'm used to like scraping poo off a nappy. So a pee cloth is nothing compared to what a baby puts out.
And there's no smell. There's no smell at all.
Yeah.
There's no smell. unless you left it there for months, but you don't. If you're washing it every couple of days.
That's not the intention. You must have had a really big sheet that you cut up then. So.
Can I just interrupt? I just want to say, first of all, my great aunt, my mum's mother's sister, we went to stay with her, my ex and I, many, many years ago, and she explained to us that she basically had to explain to us that the cloth and bucket set up beside the toilet was for her, and she didn't expect us to use it. Seriously, if she hadn't mentioned it, I wouldn't even have noticed it was there, because she had toilet paper as well.
Yes.
So that we, for the guests and so on. But so now when people are starting to talk about these sorts of solutions, it just reminds me of my dear great auntie Rose, who was just such a character.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say I loved what you said, Liz, about this being a multi-step project.
Yeah.
Because with the planting of food, I currently have 2 big tubs in my yard, which one of them has lettuce that's gone to seed violently because I went away for a week.
Yep.
And the other one's full of the remains of what was a bok choy harvest that, it's the last dregs and it's all died off. So I've got space waiting to be planted. I still have some of the Woolworths put out. Remember, they were doing locally, they were doing the little seedling, you could collect seedlings in a little planting pot. And I have a handful of those that I've hoarded. I don't even know what I've got. And I've sort of thought, okay, today's step is dig out the stash and figure out what's there. I also know I've got some seeds lurking about the place somewhere in the garage. I'll dig them out. So that's today's first step. Because I know my brain was looking at this entire thing and thinking, oh my God, I've got to dig out the old plants. I've got to refresh the soil because the potting mix was used for the first time with these plants. So I've got to figure out, what do I need to add and what should I plant where? What goes in after the tomatoes and what goes? Suddenly it becomes massive and too much. And I'm like, no, the only thing I'm allowed to do today is check out what the stash is and make a list.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't even have to dig up the old stuff. I can just do that.
Yep.
I like that, deconstructing the process and taking the pressure off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we won't do anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I always say, make each of those steps ridiculously small.
Exactly.
And, you spend 15 minutes pulling out those seedling boxes and going, okay, so what's there? 15 minutes and you're done.
Exactly. And it rewards your brain because you're getting success. So you're getting that, brain success stuff that everyone talks about.
Yeah.
Like right now. But so it's like rewarding yourself. Okay, I did that. It feels good to complete a task. So if it's small enough to be completed, you're more likely to do it.
Absolutely.
And you see yourself as someone who completes tasks rather than someone who's got this impossible project and fails at it because they don't even start.
And then we get the curse of procrastinator, which I don't like that word.
Well, I have a very close relationship with overwhelm. And so the way that I get around that is to chunk things down into ridiculously small steps. But the best thing about that is when you pull out those seedlings and go, okay, I've got, 10 of these seedlings. And if you do that, you have such a sense of accomplishment. You go, oh, hang on, I'll just go out and refresh that soil. And so you actually do get a lot more done if you've allowed that time, if you've got the space to do that.
I want to ask Janet, sorry, I've got Jeanettes and Janets in my life. You said you were only allowed to do that. So then if you do feel extra motivated, do you do it or because I know you understand this sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's such a good question. Yes, so I've learned years ago when I was doing writing for a living, I learned that I had to, sometimes I would trick my brain into doing things. So, and I think each of us has a slightly different relationship with goals and achievement. So investigating it for ourselves is important. But for me, I do the thing of saying, I'm only allowed to do this today. And then when I get to the end of it, if I have the inspiration to do something more, I'm really cautious about, it's like, okay, you've finished eating that thing on your plate and you think you want more. So let's do a tiny portion extra rather than a whole nother helping. So it's like, if I do kind of go, I'm really excited about this, I really want to get in So probably with this example, I would do my inventory of what seeds I've got. If I'm still feeling the inspiration and excited, and if the weather's still nice, I'll probably go out and I would say, pull out the dead plants and call it a day.
Yep.
Rather than pull out the dead plants and refresh the soil, which is probably going to be bigger than I would love. So I've learned to kind of, it's like rationing out the tasks in a way that means I have excitement for them rather than dread. And because it's dread that makes us procrastinate, not conscious dread, but our brain assumes that something is going to be unpleasant, so it goes, oh, I don't want to do that. So so keeping it small enough that, because my brain's actually quite excited about the idea of knowing what I've got. It's like, ooh, I've got free stuff that I don't have to pay for. I've got some seeds that I bought, but I've also got these free things, and I'm like, my brain likes that.
Awesome.
And I think the other thing is that if you said, I'm only allowed to do this, and you never honor that, your brain doesn't believe you anymore.
Absolutely right. Yes. So if I get to the end of doing the inventory and I'm like, that feels really good, and I'm not really excited to do any more, then I have to be absolutely scrupulous with following through. I sometimes think owning a brain is like living with a toddler. You have to keep your word. If you tell your brain the thing is going to be a certain way and then you break your word, it's kind of like, nah, that's not kind, and it's not useful. It teaches your brain, you're absolutely right, Ayesha, teaches your brain that you can't be relied upon. So why would it trust you?
Having young children, like Spencer will pull me up if I promise to do something and then don't do it. So we've talked about how sometimes we need to break those promises. But also what I feel is sometimes I get going and I don't have a strong relationship with procrastination. You may have noticed, those who know me, I will go and do something and I don't really let things stop me. But then I go too far and then I'm exhausted and I can't do anything for 2 days. So it is like managing our brain and our internal like battery power for a task.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, Janet, when you were just talking is the types of food that you grow. And we'll take beans as an example. There are, 100 different types of beans that you can grow in your backyard. And so, we will always just buy the standard ones because we think that that's all that's there is available. But the types of beans that you can grow look so spectacular when they're growing because of the colours and the size and the length and the shape and all the rest of it. It just makes my heart sing when you go out there and look at all these different varieties that you would generally never see in a supermarket or you'd be able to purchase. And so when you're looking at planting out, or if you're looking at starting to, grow something, have a look at some of the other seed companies that are around, rather than going to the local hardware, which I know is, super simple to do. But not now, because no one's got any. No one has got any seeds or seedlings.
I will be able to order some online. I love heirloom vegetables. Absolutely. Like purple carrots.
Have a look at places like Seed Freaks in Tasmania. They've got a very similar growing condition to us. And they've got a really cool history as well. They're super, super passionate about growing their own and self-sustainability. The Diggers Club, which have their head office down at Dramana, and if you haven't been down there, please go. It's just beautiful. They've got another place up at Blackwood that you can go and visit, have a walk around the gardens. But these companies are all organic and heirloom seeds. There is Eden Seeds, which is kind of northern New South Wales. The other ones escape me now. They are in my book though.
So we'll add those ones to the text that.
Yeah.
And I love the Diggers Club in Blackwood.
Yes.
It's like so pretty.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it just gives you then the visuals that we all need. I'm a huge visual person. You can talk to me for 10 hours, but give me a video or a photo of something, and I will pick it up a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So the heirloom and organic, but the seeds just when they're growing, they're just beautiful. So,
and they actually have taste, right? Like that's the thing. It's like they taste like they should.
Yeah.
Often you buy a tomato at the shop and they're just like bland and No wonder people don't like tomato, if that's what it tastes like.
That's exactly right. That's
Because
exactly
when
right.
you get a good tomato, sprinkle a little bit of salt and maybe pepper and a bit of basil. Oh my God, it's heavenly.
Yeah. And that's another reason too, to actually support your local growers. So go to the farmers markets rather than, just get out of the supermarket.
And the government has said that farmers markets are okay for now. They're essential service, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So what I might do is if you've got one more tip, and then I might get you to share how people can find out about your online program and everything.
Fantastic. My last tip, and again, this is kind of along the same line as your toilet paper, is tissues. Tissues. Go back to the daggy old hanky.
Running women,
see Janet's on it.
Cry, but I could make them tissues and
You can, but there's so many beautiful and Melbourne-based tissue hanky makers as well. Like, they're just gorgeous, the designs on them these days. So that's my advice: is go back to hankies, leave the tissues alone. By all means, finish the box, but go and buy hankies.
I hardly ever use a tissue or a hanky, and when I see my dad has one, and it's like, it looks gross, right? But like, they're pretty ones; they're not old man hankies.
No, that's right. That's yeah. Mine are just, there's a lovely designer. Her name is Anna Caruso. Like, they're just so feminine.
I know, they're very sweet. I see Janet's got a collection from Sovereign Hill, and I know those hankies. Oh my gosh, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, they are. So, let's give the trees a bit of a reprieve. Save, do a one-time purchase of a hanky that will last you for 10 years or whatever. And let's ease the pressure on the environment a little bit.
Maybe there's a business opportunity for anyone who's a good sewer to, if in Ballarat, if you're looking for some work. And Rachel said she got some beautiful ones for Christmas because her neighbour knows she uses them.
Oh,
but they look so beautiful, she doesn't want to use them. So maybe if you're making family cloth, just make some extra hanky versions.
Yeah.
Just don't get them confused, maybe. Yeah.
Yes.
One trick I learned from my mum years ago, and I don't know if you do this, Liz, as well, but we know what ends up in the hanky. It dissolves better and more quickly if it's dropped into a bucket of cold, salty water. So what my mum always did was, in the laundry, she always had a tub sitting in the laundry sink that had cold, salt water in it. And she would, at the end of the day, she would just drop her hanky or hankies from the day into that. And then from there, they just go straight into the washing machine with everything else. And it basically breaks down. That was my understanding, that it breaks down anything that ends up in the hanky, which seems odd because we think of salt water as something that would set a dye, for example.
Yes.
But apparently for mucus, it's
it de-mucuses it.
Yeah. So I've been told. Not an expert though.
But the other thing I love too, when I'm doing the ironing, is that I spray this with lavender water. Yes. So when you go to use it, you've just got this, this soft lavender fragrance.
That sounds lovely. Yeah. That's not on my radar at all, but I like the idea if I was going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy for ironing. I can't even find my iron.
Love it.
And Liz, I do have a question, and because one of the pieces of advice is that if we have been diagnosed, that we're supposed to use disposable tissues and keep them in a separate plastic bag to kind of contain whatever it is that we're shedding, any viruses that we might be shedding. Is that something that you kind of would feel comfortable with as a sort of temporary special circumstance solution?
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's going to mitigate any of the spread, if you're living with a full household, then absolutely. Yeah. There's always exceptions to the rule, and I would feel comfortable. I would still actually use toilet paper rather than tissues. But yeah,
depends what you've got on hand. Some people have no toilet paper, but they've got tissues.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm actually too embarrassed to go and even just stock up on normal toilet paper in case somebody thinks I'm hoarding. So I haven't actually even gone into a supermarket to see if there's anything on.
I haven't seen any for 3 weeks, but I do get that. Like now, I bought 10 cans of cat food because I've got 2 cats now and I hate going to the shops and I look like a cat food hoarder. But that's how I normally buy my cat food.
That's right.
So I know it's like that shopping shame now. Like, I actually want to buy toilet paper because I haven't made my family cloth. And I look like a hoarder.
I love that.
Now we've all got really good motivation to, because I've got one unopened pack at the moment in the household of 2 people. Yeah. So this is good motivation to kind of go, well, even if just because my husband being male, if I just do the family cloth thing for me, then suddenly what would last us probably 6 weeks, to be honest, because we don't use it. We use it, but we don't go through it at a rate of knots. We could eke that out for an extra month or 2 months.
Easy. Yeah.
And that's like men just get to shake it and be done.
I know.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
But I must say, like, having multiple girls in the house and my children, we seem to go through a roll a day. So it would make a big difference. Like, I'm like, it just sort of comes off and it's like, I'm saying like, okay, break that bit off and hang the other bit back over the toilet roll holder.
Yeah.
So, because it sort of gets a bit of momentum sometimes. So it's even just training the kids not to use so many.
Yeah.
And if you've got the poor quality, like my mother-in-law had 1-ply toilet paper, and it's you'd have to use so much of it. Or you go to the public toilet, where they've got those little boxes with the pull out this piece of scratchy, and you've got to use like 20 to get any leverage.
I know.
I had a friend recently. You guys will appreciate this. Works in a beauty salon in Perth, and she said that they always keep most of their toilet paper stash hidden away, but they always have a spare one just in case. She said people were just stealing them, and she said they'll regret it. It's the kind of stuff that's so cheap it'll give you a paper cut.
Yeah.
Karma.
So I think a family cloth sounds way more comfortable than having something that'll give you a paper cut.
Rachel's just saying 3 to 5 square restrictions depending on the job. Yep.
Yep.
I just want to say thank you for everyone for joining us. It's great having the conversation, and it's got me thinking about the family cloth, and I've got pinking shears, and I've got stacks of cloth, and I'd already put old sheets in the garage to use for art, but I can grab those flannel sheets back from the garage. And just thank you, Liz, so much for your humour and your expertise and your passion. I always feel like I'm so inadequate environmentally when I'm around you, but at the same time, you give me these practical little things. I don't know if I'll ever be at your level, but I can aspire to one little thing regularly, and I guess that's why you've created your online program, which I'm not necessarily spruiking things on these lives, but I think it's just such an invaluable resource that people could access right now, while they're probably isolated and looking for things to do, especially if they've got kids. There are things that they can do with kids as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And my only advice to people is just make one change at a time. Because I tried to do the whole 20, let's do all these changes at once, 20 changes at a time. And I would fall flat on my face. Nothing would stick. No changes were made. And I was left feeling really unfulfilled and frustrated because I was trying to get down this road of sustainability, but I wasn't actually gaining any momentum because I was trying to make too many changes at the one time. So one change at a time, one project at a time, and that will actually have you achieving so much more than if you try to implement too many changes at once.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Liz. That's so good. So good.
Yep. I've written that down.
Thanks, Shanna.
Thank you, Salty Water. One change at a time. I've wasted so much paper because I write too big, so I'll work on that. So, yes. So thank you, everyone. And Liz, I switch on sustainability.com.au, and I will share this video on Facebook. So if you're watching this, please, and you enjoyed it, which I hope you did, please share it when you see it come up on Facebook as well. And let's start, talking about family cloth and bulk food buying. And, Rachel, if you want to find out more about bulk food buying, pop it in under the video when I share it. And I'm sure I can tag various people as well.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm actually quietly proud of myself after hearing all this. I do the majority of that. There was only a couple of extra things I picked up, and I thought, I'm so glad. And there's probably ways I do things that could be improved that I would learn from your book, I suppose.
I think that's part of life though, Rachel. You know, we start on one journey and we refine it as we go. You know, I'm sure that there are things that I'm really clunky with that I can improve, but I know that, you know, it's environmentally sustainable. So, you know, and it works for me the way I do it now.
That's great.
You know, when I have time, I'll refine it. If not, you know, no one's going to die because I have a clunky process.
I think it's just doing your best
for me.
Just do your best with what you have.
Yeah, I think it was interesting hearing you say about you do all this and you also feel that pressure of, oh, people might be looking, or how do they perceive me doing it a certain way. I get that all the time, and I've just said to somebody last night, I saved all my ends of my veggies and everything. I always do, and it's in the slow cooker for the bone broth.
Beautiful.
And I know people are turning up their noses at me. It's just tough luck.
But a lot of these things is what our parents did, I'm sure.
Yeah.
In the old days, didn't they keep all those cuttings for this?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So it's actually a lot of it's just going backwards in time.
Yeah.
Which isn't such a bad thing at the end of the day. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So sometimes progress is going backwards.
Thanks,
Amen.
Liz, for talking. It's great.
But thank you everyone for coming. I'll see you on the next call. Hopefully some of you, and have a great weekend. I am getting off technology for the weekend after this, hopefully. So enjoy your garden, or your flowers, or your seeds, or your family cloth, whatever it is.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Love to you all. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Ayesha again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to subscribe and to check out the website virtualcarebasket.com. You can also find out more about me at ayeshahilton.com. Have a fabulous day.